The rose was black. Delilah Hart stood in her studio, paintbrush frozen in midair, staring at the single black rose lying on her easel. She lived alone. The doors were locked. The windows were sealed. The security system she'd just installed last week showed no breaches. And yet, there it was. Perfect, thornless, impossibly black, with a note attached in elegant handwriting. You paint shadows beautifully, but you've never painted mine. Soon, little bird, soon you'll see me, and then you'll never look away, your shadow. This was the 5th gift in 2 weeks. First, her favorite coffee appeared on her doorstep, the exact blend she ordered from a shop 3 towns over. Second, her studio was cleaned, paintings organized, brushes arranged by size while she slept. Third, a first edition art book she'd been searching for, impossible to find, left on her pillow. Fourth, all her bills were paid, every single one, anonymously. And now this. A black rose. A promise. A threat. Delilah should call the police, should pack her bags, should run from Ravenswood Estate and never look back. But as she lifted the rose to her nose and breathed in its dark, intoxicating scent, a shiver ran down her spine that had nothing to do with fear, and everything to do with the truth she didn't want to admit. Part of her wanted him to come closer. Part of her had been waiting her whole life for someone to truly see her, even if that someone was watching from the shadows. 3 months earlier, Delilah Hart was running away. Not from danger, not from debt, not from a broken heart. From success. At 26, she was one of London's most celebrated contemporary artists. Her dark, haunting paintings sold for 6 figures. Galleries fought over her work. Critics called her a prodigy. And she hated every second of it. The constant scrutiny, the fake smiles, the people who wanted to own her art but didn't care about understanding it, the pressure to produce, to perform, to be the tortured artist they expected. So when the letter arrived from the estate solicitor, informing her that her great-aunt Cordelia had died and left her Ravenswood Estate, Delilah saw an escape. A crumbling Victorian manor in the English countryside, miles from anyone, perfect isolation. She packed her paints, her brushes, and her desperate need for solitude, and drove north. Ravenswood Estate was exactly what she needed. Beautiful, decaying, haunted by memories instead of people. The manor house was massive, 3 stories of dark stone and leaded windows, surrounded by overgrown gardens and ancient trees. The kind of place that whispered secrets. Perfect. Delilah moved into the east wing, setting up her studio in what used to be the ballroom. High ceilings, natural light, room for her darkness to breathe. The rest of the house she left untouched. Dust sheets over furniture, portraits of dead relatives watching from the walls, her great-aunt's belongings exactly as she'd left them, including the letters. Delilah found them in Cordelia's bedroom. Hundreds of letters, tied with black ribbon, hidden in a locked drawer. All from the same person. All unsigned. All terrifyingly intimate. I watched you today in the garden. You look like a ghost among the roses, beautiful and untouchable. But I'll touch you soon, I promise, your shadow. You think you're alone in that house. You're not. I'm always here. Watching, waiting, protecting what's mine, your shadow. Stop trying to find me. You'll only succeed when I want you to. And when that happens, you'll realize you've been mine all along. Your shadow. Letter after letter, spanning 40 years. Cordelia had had a stalker. A stalker who'd written to her for 4 decades, who'd watched her, obsessed over her, and apparently never been caught. The dates on the last letters made Delilah's blood run cold. They stopped 3 months before Cordelia died. The final letter read, I'm sorry I have to leave you, my darling, but death comes for us all. Know that I watched over you every day of your life, and now, in death, I'll watch over whoever comes after you. The manor will never be empty, neither will you. Shadow. Delilah should have been terrified. Should have burned the letters and left. But instead she felt intrigued. What kind of love was this? Obsessive, possessive, eternal. Her great-aunt had never married, never had children, by all accounts had lived alone her entire life. But she'd never truly been alone. Someone had watched her, loved her, obsessed over her. For 40 years. And now that someone, or someone like them, was watching Delilah. The stalking started small. Things moved in her studio. Paintings turned to face different directions. Brushes cleaned and organized while she slept. Her coffee appeared every morning on the front steps. Perfect temperature, perfect blend. Books she'd mentioned wanting, in passing to herself, alone, appeared in her studio. Flowers, always black roses, always perfectly placed where she'd see them. And the notes. You're even more beautiful than she was. Your shadow. I love how you paint at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. The way you bite your lip when you're concentrating. The way you hum to yourself. I could watch you forever. Your shadow. You shouldn't leave your windows open at night. It's not safe. Lucky for you, I'm always watching. Shadow. Delilah installed security cameras. They mysteriously malfunctioned every night. She changed the locks. He still got in. She set traps, flour on the floor, string across doorways. Nothing ever disturbed. Whoever he was a ghost. Detective Callum Reed. 3 weeks into the stalking, Delilah finally called the police. Not because she was scared, but because she needed answers. Detective Callum Reed showed up an hour later. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair and darker eyes, a scar across his left jaw. The kind of man who looked like he'd seen too much and stopped caring a long time ago. Miss Hart, he showed his badge. You reported a stalking. Come in. Delilah led him to her studio, showed him the letters, the roses, the notes. He read through them with no expression. How long has this been happening? 3 weeks since I moved in. Any idea who it could be? No, I don't know anyone here. I just inherited this place from my great-aunt. Cordelia Hartley. Delilah's head snapped up. You knew her. Everyone in town knew her. Reclusive artist, lived alone for 60 years, died 3 months ago. His eyes locked on hers. You look like her. I've heard. You paint like her too. Dark, haunting, beautiful. Something in his voice made her pulse quicken. How do you know how I paint? A slight smile. I did my research before coming here. You're famous, Miss Hart, London's darling, the tortured artist who disappeared. I didn't disappear. I relocated. To a manor with a history of strange occurrences. What kind of occurrences? Lights in empty rooms, shadows in windows, people hearing music when the house was supposed to be empty. He walked around her studio, examining her paintings. Your great-aunt claimed she was never alone, said someone watched over her. The letters mentioned that. Yes, the letters. He stopped in front of her latest painting, a dark figure standing in shadows, watching a woman who was unaware. Did you paint this before or after the stalking started? Delilah looked at the painting. Before, 2 years ago. Interesting. What is? That you've been painting your stalker for years before he appeared. The words hit her like ice water. He was right. All her paintings, for years, always the same theme. A shadow watching, a woman unaware, the dangerous intimacy of being observed. I paint what haunts me, she said quietly. And what haunts you, Miss Hart? She met his intense gaze. The fear of being invisible, of going through life without anyone truly seeing me. Be careful what you wish for. He handed her his card. Someone is seeing you now, very clearly, and I'm going to find out who. As he left, Delilah noticed something. His handwriting on the card. Elegant, slanted. Familiar. No, it couldn't be. She pulled out one of the stalker's notes and compared. Similar, but not exact. She was imagining things. The detective was here to help her, not torment her. Right. The shadow speaks. That night, Delilah couldn't sleep. She painted instead. A new piece, raw and angry and desperate. A woman running, a shadow chasing, neither wanting to stop. At 3 a.m., exhausted, she finally stumbled to bed. When she woke at dawn, there was a new note on her nightstand. I love this new painting, the desperation in her eyes, the hunger in his chase. You understand us better than you think, but you're wrong about one thing. I don't want to chase you. Little bird, I want you to stop running and turn around, see me, really see me, and then choose to stay. Shadow. Delilah's hands shook as she read it. He'd been in her room while she slept. This should be the final straw, the moment she packed and left and never looked back. But instead, she did something insane. She wrote back, on a blank canvas, in bold black letters. I'm not running, but I won't turn around until you give me a reason to. Prove you're more than a ghost, D. She left it on her easel and went to make coffee. When she returned 20 minutes later, there was a response. Written in paint on the same canvas. In her own paints. With her own brushes. While she was gone. Challenge accepted, but be warned, once you see me, you won't be able to look away. And once you're mine, I'll never let you go. Are you ready for that kind of forever, Delilah? Your shadow. She should be terrified. Instead, she smiled. And wrote back. Prove it. The game BGNS. The stalking changed after that. It became a conversation. A dance. Delilah would paint questions. He would paint answers. Who are you? Someone who's been watching you longer than you know. Why me? Because you paint the darkness I live in and make it beautiful. What do you want? Everything. Your art, your attention, your breath, your surrender, all of it. That's insane. Yes, but so are you. That's why we're perfect. He started leaving more than notes. Her favorite foods appeared in her kitchen. She'd mention craving something, Indian food, chocolate, fresh bread, and it would appear within hours. Books she'd been meaning to read showed up on her shelves. Art supplies she needed, but hadn't ordered yet arrived on her doorstep. He knew her better than anyone ever had. And she was starting to crave his attention. The way he saw her, understood her, anticipated her needs. It was addictive. Detective Reed called weekly for updates. Any new incidents? Lots, he's escalating. Escalating how? More gifts, more contact, more personal. Miss Hart, I need you to take this seriously. Stalkers are dangerous. I am taking it seriously. I just don't think he means me harm. How can you possibly know that? Because I can feel it, she wanted to say. Because whoever he is, he makes me feel more alive than I've felt in years. But she said, instinct. Instinct gets people killed. So does living in fear. Silence on the line. Then, I'm coming by tomorrow. We need to talk. He hung up before she could respond. Delilah stared at the phone, then at her latest painting. A woman and a shadow, no longer running, standing face to face. The shadow's hand reaching out. The woman's hand rising to meet it. That night, she found a new note. Tomorrow the detective comes. He thinks he's protecting you. But little bird, the only danger you're in is the danger of falling for someone you can't see. And I'm about to fix that. Tomorrow night. Midnight, the garden, come alone, come ready, because I'm done hiding. And you're done pretending you don't want this. Your shadow. Delilah read it 3 times. Tomorrow night. Midnight. She'd finally see him. Finally know who'd been watching her, obsessing over her, making her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced. She should tell Detective Reed. Should let him set up surveillance, catch the stalker, end this. But God help her, she didn't want it to end. She wanted to see him. Wanted to know if the reality could possibly match the fantasy. So she made a decision that would change everything. She wrote one word on a fresh canvas. Yes. And waited for midnight. The garden was silent, except for Delilah's racing heartbeat. She stood in the center of the overgrown maze of roses and ivy, moonlight casting silver shadows across the ancient stone pathways. The note had said midnight. It was 12:03. Was he coming? Had he changed his mind? Was this all some elaborate game? Then she felt it. That familiar sensation of being watched. "I'm here," she said to the darkness. "You wanted me to come, I came." Silence. "Show yourself, no more hiding, that was the deal." A rustling in the trees, a shadow moving. And then he stepped into the moonlight. Delilah's breath caught. She'd expected someone sinister, ugly, the kind of man who'd have to hide in shadows because the light would reveal a monster. But the man standing before her was beautiful in the most dangerous way. Tall, easily over 6 feet, broad shoulders and a dark shirt, strong jaw, sharp cheekbones, dark hair slightly disheveled, and those eyes, intense, burning, completely focused on her. "You," she breathed. Detective Callum Reed smiled. "Me. You're my stalker. I prefer the term devoted admirer." He took a step closer. "But yes, I'm your shadow." Delilah's mind raced. All those weeks, the investigation, the questions, the concern, the warnings about staying safe. "You've been investigating yourself," she said, voice shaking with anger and something else she couldn't name. "You came to my house, pretended to help me, lied to my face." "I never lied about what matters." Another step. "I said someone was watching you, true. I said someone was obsessed with you, true. I said you were in danger of falling for someone you shouldn't, also true. You're insane." Completely. He was close now, close enough for her to smell cedar and rain. "I've been insane since the moment I saw your first painting 3 years ago. A woman alone, a shadow watching, and I thought she understands. She sees the world the way I do." "That's not love, that's obsession." "What's the difference?" His hand came up, hovering near her face but not touching, always asking permission even as he broke every boundary. "I think about you every waking moment. I've memorized your routine, your preferences, your fears, your dreams. I know you paint at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep, that you hum to yourself when you're concentrating, that you talk to your paintings like they're people. That's stalking. That's devotion." His voice was rough. "I've spent 3 years watching you from afar, protecting you from things you never knew threatened you, making sure you were safe, happy. And then you came here, to Ravenswood, to this manor where another man loved another woman from the shadows for 40 years. And I thought maybe she could understand. Maybe she could accept this kind of love. It's not love if I don't get to choose." "Then choose." He finally touched her hand, cupping her face. "I'm here, no more shadows, no more hiding. This is me, Delilah Callum Reed, detective by day, obsessed stalker by night, completely and utterly consumed by you. Choose me or run, but know that if you run, I'll disappear. You'll never see me again, never feel this." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Never know what it's like to be loved this completely." Delilah should run, should scream, should do anything except what she did. She leaned into his touch. "This is insane," she whispered. "I know," his forehead touched hers, "but you're still here." "I shouldn't be." "But you are." His other hand found her waist. "Why?" "Because," her voice broke, "because I've felt invisible my whole life. Everyone in London wanted my art, but nobody saw me. And you see me, really see me. I see everything." His voice was intense. "The way you bite your lip when you're nervous, the way you tilt your head when you're thinking, the way you hum Mozart when you're happy and Chopin when you're sad. I see all of it, and I want all of it. Even the broken parts. Especially the broken parts." He pulled back to look at her. "I'm broken too, Delilah. I've been broken since I was 16, since I watched my mother die and couldn't save her, since I realized the only way to protect people is to watch them, always watch them, never look away. That's why you became a detective. To watch people legally, to protect them." His smile was sad. "But you I watch because I can't not, because you're in my blood, under my skin, in every breath I take. That's terrifying." "I know, but is it terrifying enough to make you run?" Delilah looked into his eyes. Those dark, intense, completely unhinged eyes that saw her more clearly than anyone ever had. She should run. But she didn't want to. "No," she whispered, "it's not." The kiss was inevitable. Desperate and hungry, and 3 years of pent-up obsession exploding into contact. His hands in her hair, her hands fisting his shirt, neither gentle, neither holding back. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Callum pressed his forehead to hers. "Tell me this is real," he demanded. "Tell me I'm not imagining this." "It's real," she was shaking. "Insane, wrong, but real. I need you to understand something." His grip on her tightened. "I'm not normal. I can't be normal. I'll always want to know where you are, what you're doing, who you're with. I'll always watch you. That's who I am." "I know. And you're okay with that." She pulled back to look at him. "I don't know. This is all happening so fast. 1 hour ago, I thought you were helping me. Now you're Stalker, say it." "My stalker." The words should sound wrong, but they didn't. "My shadow." "Yes," he kissed her again, softer this time. "Your shadow, always." They sat in the garden for hours, talking, not touching except for his hand holding hers like he was afraid she'd disappear. "Tell me about Thomas Gray," Delilah said. "Cordelia's stalker. You said you found his journals." Callum nodded. "He was a gardener, worked on the estate when Cordelia was in her 20s. He saw her every day, fell in love, but he was poor, working class, she was wealthy, educated. So he stayed quiet, watched from a distance. For 40 years. He left the estate after a year, but he never left the area. He bought a small cottage half a mile away, and every day for 40 years he'd walk to a spot in the woods where he could see the manor, see her windows, watch her lights, make sure she was safe. That's obsessive, unhealthy, completely mad. Callum's smile was knowing, but also devoted, constant, real. Did she know? That's the question I've been trying to answer. He pulled out his phone, showed her photos of journal entries. He wrote that he left signs, flowers, notes, small gifts, things only she would notice. Like you do. Like I do. He didn't look ashamed. I learned from him, studied his techniques, his patience, his devotion. That's disturbing. I know, but Delilah, he loved her for 40 years, never touched her, never spoke to her, just watched, just protected, just loved from afar. And when he died 3 months before she did, his voice caught. She died of a broken heart. The coroner said natural causes, but I think she died because her shadow was gone. Delilah felt tears prick her eyes. How do you know? Because I found her diary, the one she kept locked in her bedroom. Want to know the last entry? Yes. He pulled up another photo, Cordelia's handwriting, shaky with age but clear. My shadow is gone. I felt it the moment he left this world. For 40 years, I've been watched, protected, loved from a distance. I pretended not to know, pretended not to see him in the woods, pretended not to recognize his gifts. But I knew, I always knew, and I loved him back, from my windows, from my garden, from my heart. But I was too afraid to turn around, too afraid to face him, to make it real. And now he's gone, and I'm so cold, so alone. My shadow is gone, and I don't know how to exist in this light. Delilah was crying now. She loved him. She loved him, and she wasted 40 years being afraid of it, being ashamed of it, pretending it wasn't real. Callum turned to face her fully. Don't make her mistake, Delilah. Don't waste time being afraid. I'm here. I'm real. I'm yours if you want me. This is crazy. Life is crazy. Love is crazy, but it's also short. Cordelia learned that too late. His hand cupped her face. I don't want to watch you from the shadows for 40 years. I want to stand in the light with you. I want to be seen, to be chosen, to be yours. What if I can't handle it? The watching, the intensity, Then we'll figure it out, together. I'll try to be less obsessive. You'll try to be more understanding. We'll meet in the middle. You really think you can be less obsessive? He laughed. No, but I'll try, for you. I'll try to be the man you need instead of the stalker I am. Delilah looked at this impossible, dangerous, completely devoted man, and made a decision that would change everything. I don't want you to change, she said quietly. I just want you to be honest. No more investigating yourself. No more pretending to be someone you're not. If you're going to watch me, I want to know about it. If you're going to obsess over me, I want to be part of it. If you're going to love me, her voice broke. "I want to love you back." The look on his face was pure devastation and joy. "You mean that?" "I'm terrified. I'm confused. I'm probably making the worst decision of my life." She smiled through her tears. "But yes, I mean it. I choose you. I choose this insanity." He kissed her like a drowning man finding air, desperate and grateful and overwhelming. When they finally broke apart, the sky was starting to lighten, dawn approaching. "Come inside," Delilah said. "No more shadows, no more watching from outside. If you're mine completely." "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." They walked back to the manor hand in hand. No more stalker and victim, just two broken people who'd found something resembling wholeness in each other. Delilah woke to find Callum already awake, watching her sleep. "Creepy," she mumbled. "You knew what you were getting into." Doesn't make it less creepy, but she smiled. "Morning." "Morning, beautiful." He kissed her forehead. "Coffee's ready, your favorite blend." "Because you've been stalking my coffee preferences for 3 years." "Exactly." She sat up, and that's when she noticed the paintings. All around the bedroom, propped against walls, on easels, dozens of paintings she'd never seen before. All of her. Delilah painting, Delilah sleeping, Delilah in the garden, Delilah reading, Delilah laughing. All painted from a distance, from shadows, from his perspective. "Callum," her voice was breathless. "I paint too," he said quietly. "Not as well as you, but I paint what I see, and all I've seen for 3 years is you." She walked to the paintings. They were raw, emotional, obsessive, beautiful in their intensity. "You painted me." "Hundreds of times. This is just a fraction." He stood behind her. "Every time I watched you, I'd go home and paint, trying to capture the way you moved, the way light hit your face, the way you existed in the world. You're my only subject, my only muse." Delilah should be horrified, should feel violated. Instead, she felt seen, cherished, immortalized. "They're beautiful." "You're beautiful. I just document it." She turned in his arms. "Show me more." "More." "Show me everything. All the paintings, all the journals, all the ways you've watched me. I want to see myself through your eyes." Something shifted in his expression. "Are you sure?" "If I'm going to embrace this madness, I'm going all in. Show me, Callum. Show me everything." So he did. He took her to his cottage, the small place half a mile away where Thomas Gray had lived, where Callum had been living since she moved to Ravenswood. And he showed her everything. Walls covered in paintings of her, journals filled with observations, photos, non-invasive, he swore just public moments, sketches, notes, 3 years of obsession documented. Delilah walked through it in silence, this shrine to her, this evidence of devotion so complete it bordered on madness. "Say something," Callum said, voice tight with fear. "Please." She turned to him. "This is the most terrifying, beautiful, insane thing anyone has ever done for me." "Is that good or bad?" "I don't know, both, neither." She moved to him. "But I'm not running." "Why not?" "Because," she gestured to the walls, the art, the evidence of years of devotion. "Because this is proof that someone sees me, really sees me, not my art, not my fame, not what I can do for them, just me. Always just you. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me this is love, not just obsession, that you see me as a person, not a possession. I see you as a miracle." His hands framed her face. "A walking, breathing miracle that I don't deserve but can't live without. You're not my possession, Delilah. You're my religion, my purpose, my reason for existing." "That's a lot of pressure." "I know, but it's the truth." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you. I've loved you for 3 years, and I'll love you for the rest of my life, even if that love looks different than normal. Even if it's obsessive and intense and sometimes terrifying, it's still love. It's still real." Delilah looked into his eyes, those dark, devoted, completely unhinged eyes, and said the words that sealed her fate. "I love you too." His kiss was reverent, desperate, grateful. And as they stood in that cottage surrounded by 3 years of obsession, Delilah realized something. She'd spent her whole life painting shadows. Now she was loving one. And it felt like coming home. 1 month later, the detective called again, Delilah said, phone in hand. Callum looked up from his coffee. Which detective? The real one, Detective Harris. Asking if I've had any more stalking incidents. What did you tell him? That my stalker and I have reached an understanding. Callum laughed. I bet that went over well. He thinks I'm insane. You are, but so am I, we match. They were in her studio now. Their studio. Callum had moved in officially last week. No more cottage, no more watching from outside, just them, together. He still watched her paint, but now he sat in the room instead of in the shadows. Progress. Are you going to tell him, Delilah asked, that it was you? Should I? I don't know. Isn't there some ethical issue with a detective stalking someone? Probably. I'll likely lose my job. And you're okay with that? He set down his coffee and moved to her. Delilah, I became a detective to watch people, to protect them, to have a reason for my obsessive need to observe. But I don't need that job anymore. I have you. You're my purpose now. That's unhealthy. Completely, but it's honest. He kissed her temple. I'll resign. Tell them I have a conflict of interest. Start something new, maybe private investigation or security. Something that lets me use my skills without the ethical complications. You do that for me. I'd do anything for you. Haven't the last 3 years proven that? She smiled. I suppose they have. Besides, he pulled her close. I prefer watching you like this, openly, with permission, knowing you know I'm here. It's still creepy. But you love it. God help me, I do. They kissed, soft, sweet, normal. Well, as normal as they could be. But nothing good lasts forever. That afternoon, Delilah was alone in the studio when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Miss Hart, a man's voice, cultured, cold. We haven't met, but I've been admiring your work. Who is this? A concerned citizen. I've become aware that you're living with Detective Callum Reed. Her blood ran cold. How do you? I know many things. For instance, I know that Detective Reed has been stalking you for 3 years. I have evidence, photos, journals, his entire cottage documented. What do you want? Nothing much, just for you to understand something. Detective Reed isn't who you think he is. He's dangerous, obsessive. And if you don't end this relationship, I'll be forced to reveal everything. His career will be ruined. He'll face criminal charges, possibly prison time. You're blackmailing me. I'm protecting you. End it with Reed. Leave Ravenswood, go back to London, and his secret stays safe. And if I refuse, then I destroy him. Your choice, Miss Hart. Love or his freedom. You have 48 hours to decide. The line went dead. Delilah stood there, phone in hand, world crumbling. Someone knew. Someone had evidence. And someone was giving her an impossible choice. Save Callum by leaving him. Or stay and watch him lose everything. Delilah didn't sleep. How could she, knowing what Callum had just revealed? He was her stalker, her shadow, the man who'd been watching her, obsessing over her, breaking into her home. And he was a detective who'd been investigating himself. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so terrifying. She paced her studio as dawn broke, trying to make sense of everything. All those weeks, all those conversations where he'd investigated her stalker, where he'd warned her about danger, where he'd looked her in the eyes and lied. The painting sessions, the confessions, the vulnerability. All of it real. All of it manipulation. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. But everything I told you last night was true. I love you. I've loved you from the moment I saw your first painting 3 years ago. Come to the garden at noon. Let me explain everything. Please, see. Delilah stared at the message. She should block him, should call the real police, should leave and never look back. But despite everything, despite the lies and the stalking and the complete insanity of it all, she couldn't deny what she'd felt last night. The connection, the intensity, the way he'd looked at her like she was his entire world. That hadn't been fake. She'd seen too much genuine emotion in his eyes to believe it was all a performance. Against every instinct of self-preservation, Delilah found herself typing back. One chance, noon, but Callum, if you lie to me again, we're done. Forever. His response was immediate. I'll tell you everything, I promise. Thank you for not running, see. Noon's the garden. Callum was already there when Delilah arrived. Standing in the same spot where they'd first met face to face, where he'd kissed her, where everything had changed. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept either, still wearing the same clothes from last night. You came, he said quietly. I almost didn't. I know, thank you. Delilah crossed her arms. Talk, and it better be the truth this time. Callum took a breath. 3 years ago, I saw one of your paintings in a London gallery. The Watcher, a woman painting, unaware of the shadow standing behind her. And he stopped, struggling. I felt seen. For the first time in my life, someone had painted exactly what I was, what I am, a shadow always watching, never seen. That's when the obsession started. Yes, I researched you, followed your career, bought every piece I could afford. I know it's insane, I know it's wrong. But Delilah, your art spoke to something broken in me. So you stalked me. Not at first. At first, I just watched from a distance. Went to your gallery openings, stood in the back, disappeared before you could notice me. His voice was rough. But then you announced you were leaving London, disappearing, and I panicked. That's when you found out about Ravenswood. Yes, I did some digging, found out about Cordelia, about her stalker, about the letters. He met her eyes. And I realized I could be close to you, watch over you, without the pressure of London society, without the crowds, just you and me in this manor. The letters from Cordelia's stalker, did you write those too? No, those were real, written by a man named Thomas Gray. He loved your Gray tant for 40 years, watched her from the shadows, protected her. And when he died 3 months before she did, it broke her heart. Delilah's breath caught. They were real. Yes, I found Thomas's journals when I researched the property. He documented everything. His love, his obsession, his absolute devotion to a woman who never knew his name. Callum's voice softened. He was my inspiration, proof that this kind of love, twisted as it is, can last, can be real. That's not love, Callum. That's obsession. What's the difference? He stepped closer. He thought about her every day, made sure she was safe, happy, cared for, left her gifts, watched over her, loved her from a distance because he believed that's what she needed. How is that not love? Because she never got to choose. She never got to decide if she wanted him or not. She knew. Callum pulled out an old, worn letter from his pocket. I found this in Cordelia's things, never sent, written the day she died. He handed it to Delilah. She read it, tears streaming down her face. My dearest shadow, asterisk. I know you think I never saw you, but I did. I always knew you were there. Watching, protecting, loving me in your own broken way. I was afraid at first, then intrigued, then addicted, then in love. But I was too much of a coward to turn around, to face you, to risk the fantasy becoming reality. So I let you stay in the shadows, and I pretended not to know. And we lived this strange, beautiful, impossible love for 40 years. I regret not having the courage to see you, to hold you, to tell you that I loved you too. If I could do it again, I would turn around on day one. I would look into your eyes and say, I see you, I choose you, stay. But I can't, so I'm writing this letter I'll never send, and hoping that somehow you know. You were never just my shadow, Thomas. You were my light in the darkness. All my love, asterisk. Cordelia. Delilah's hands shook. She knew, she always knew. Yes, and she loved him anyway. She just didn't have the courage to admit it until it was too late. Callum's eyes were intense. Don't make her mistake, Delilah. Don't spend your life pretending. Don't waste 40 years loving someone from a distance when you could just turn around and choose them. You're asking me to choose you, after everything. I'm asking you to be honest about what you feel, about what you want. He was close now, so close. You came to the garden last night. You kissed me back. You didn't run when you found out the truth, because some part of you wants this, wants me, even if it's insane. It is insane. I know. But you've been painting this exact scenario for years. A shadow and a woman, a watcher and the watched, the dangerous intimacy of being truly seen. His hand cupped her face. I see you, Delilah Hart, all of you, the darkness, the desperation, the need to be understood. And I'm offering you what Cordelia never had, a choice. Choose me, choose this, choose the insanity. Delilah's heart was racing. And if I say no? Pain flashed across his face. Then I disappear. You'll never see me again, never hear from me. I'll watch from so far away you'll never know I'm there, and you can live your life in peace. But you'll still be watching. Always, I can't stop that, but I'll never interfere, never contact you, never, his voice broke, never touch you again. The thought of never seeing him again, never feeling his hands on her skin, never experiencing that intensity, it hurt more than it should. And that's when Delilah realized the truth. She'd already made her choice. She'd made it the moment she wrote, yes, on that canvas. Made it when she came to the garden at midnight. Made it when she didn't run after discovering who he was. She was in love with her stalker. And God help her, she didn't want him to stop. I'm insane, she whispered. Yes, his thumb traced her cheekbone, but so am I, we match. This is wrong. I don't care. It's dangerous. I'll keep you safe, always. People will think I'm crazy. Let them. As long as you're mine, I don't care what anyone thinks. Delilah looked into his eyes. Those dark, obsessive, completely unhinged eyes that saw her more clearly than anyone ever had. If I choose this, choose you, I need rules. Anything. No more breaking in without permission. You want to come to the manor? Use the door. Done. No more stalking in secret. If you're watching me, I get to know about it. Agreed. And Callum, she grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. No more lies, ever. I need complete honesty, even if it's dark, even if it's twisted. I want to know everything. I promise, total transparency, no matter how ugly the truth is. Okay, she took a breath. Then yes, I choose you. I choose this insanity. The kiss was desperate, hungry, real. He lifted her into his arms, carrying her back to the manor, neither of them able to stop touching, tasting, claiming. This was insane. Choosing a stalker, loving a man who'd broken every boundary, building a relationship on obsession and lies and twisted devotion. But as Callum laid her on her bed and looked at her like she was his salvation, Delilah realized something. Normal had never worked for her. Normal people didn't understand her darkness. But Callum did. He lived in the same shadows she painted. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what she needed. 6 months later, Delilah stood in her studio, paintbrush in hand, working on her latest piece. Callum sat in the corner, watching her like he always did, no longer hiding, no longer pretending. Just watching, being her shadow in the light. You're starring, she said without turning around. I'm always starring. You knew that when you agreed to this. I did, she smiled. Doesn't make it less creepy. You love it. Disgustingly, yes. He moved behind her, arms wrapping around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. What are you painting? Us, as we really are. The canvas showed 2 figures, a woman painting, a man watching, both perfectly aware of each other, both choosing to stay. No more shadows, no more hiding. Just 2 broken people who'd found something whole in each other. It's perfect, Callum murmured against her neck. It's insane. Same thing. Delilah leaned back into him, feeling completely seen, completely known, completely chosen. Yes, he'd stalked her. Yes, he'd lied. Yes, their relationship started in the most toxic way possible. But he'd also given her something no one else ever had: complete, absolute, unwavering devotion. He saw her darkness and loved it. He understood her need for intensity and matched it. He was obsessed with her, and she was addicted to being obsessed over. It wasn't healthy, it wasn't normal, but it was theirs. "I love you," she said quietly. "I know, I've been watching you long enough to know." He turned her to face him, "But I never get tired of hearing it. I love you, Callum Reed, my stalker, my shadow, my completely unhinged detective. I love you, Delilah Hart, my obsession, my muse, my perfectly broken artist." As they kissed, surrounded by paintings of shadows and watchers and the dangerous intimacy of being truly seen, Delilah thought about Cordelia's letter. About 40 years wasted because she'd been too afraid to turn around. Delilah had turned around, had faced the shadow, had chosen the insanity, and she didn't regret it for a second. Epilogue, 1 year later. The gallery opening was packed. Delilah's latest collection, Shadows and Light. Paintings documenting her relationship with Callum, the stalking, the obsession, the choice to embrace the darkness. Critics called it disturbingly intimate and uncomfortably raw. The public called it the most honest depiction of toxic love ever created. It sold out in 3 hours. Callum stood in the corner, watching her handle the press, the admirers, the critics. Always watching. Never leaving. A reporter approached Delilah. "Miss Hart, these paintings are incredibly personal. Are they autobiographical?" Delilah smiled, completely. "So you're saying you actually fell in love with someone who stalked me?" "Yes." Gasps from the crowd. That's highly unusual." "It's insane," Delilah agreed. "But sometimes the most beautiful things are born from insanity." She looked directly at Callum across the room. "Sometimes the person who sees you most clearly is the one watching from the shadows. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop running and turn around." "Are you advocating for?" "I'm not advocating for anything except honesty. My relationship started in the darkest way possible, but it's also the most real thing I've ever experienced." She held up her left hand, showing the ring. "And in 3 months, I'm marrying my stalker, so make of that what you will." The reporter's jaw dropped. The crowd erupted in whispers. And Callum crossed the room, pulled Delilah into his arms, and kissed her in front of everyone. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just 2 people who'd found each other in the darkness and chose to stay. Later that night, back at Ravenswood, they stood in Cordelia's old room. Delilah placed a letter on the nightstand, one she'd written to her great aunt. "Dear Cordelia asterisk, I found your letter to Thomas. I read about your 40 years of loving in silence, and I'm writing to tell you I didn't make your mistake. I turned around, I saw him, I chose him. And you were right, he was never just a shadow. He was the light I didn't know I needed. Thank you for leaving me this manor, these letters, this legacy of obsessive, impossible love. You showed me that sometimes the bravest thing isn't running from the darkness. Sometimes it's running toward it. With love and gratitude, asterisk. Delilah asterisk. P.S. I think Thomas would have loved Callum. 2 shadows finally seen." As they left the room, Delilah swore she felt something shift in the air. Like a presence, warm and approving. Like Cordelia and Thomas, finally together, finally at peace. Watching over them. Always watching. Always there. "Feel that?" Callum whispered. "Yeah, I think they're happy for us." "Good, they should be. We're doing what they couldn't." "What's that?" "Loving each other in the light instead of the shadows." Delilah smiled and pulled him close. "Well, not completely in the light. You still watch me sleep." "You knew about that." "Callum, I always know. You're not as subtle as you think." "Do you want me to stop?" She thought about it, about normal relationships, normal love, normal men who didn't obsess and stalk and watch. And she realized she didn't want normal. She wanted this. Wanted him. Wanted the intensity and the obsession and yes, even the watching. "No," she said. "Don't stop, never stop seeing me." "Never," he promised. "Not for the rest of our lives." And he kept that promise. For 50 years, Callum watched Delilah. Painted with her, lived with her, loved her with an intensity that never faded. And when they were old and gray and their time was running out, they left their own letters. For the next generation. For whoever inherited Ravenswood next. Proof that obsessive love, the twisted, intense, all-consuming kind, could last a lifetime. If both people were brave enough to choose it. To see each other. Really see each other. And stay anyway. The end. She painted shadows. He lived in them. She turned around. He stepped into the light. Together, they proved that even the darkest love can become beautiful. When both people choose to see. And be seen. Completely. Forever. In loving memory of Cordelia Hartley and Thomas Gray, who loved in shadows for 40 years, and Delilah Hart and Callum Reed, who brought that love into the light. May all who inherit Ravenswood be brave enough to turn around when their shadow calls.